Hi, I'm Mark from Pavestone and I'm on site today to show you how to clad a garden wall using one of the many Pavestone cladding products and the wall and cladding adhesive. These are all the tools that you will need for the job. You may have most of these in your shed or your garage, or you can get them from your local builders merchants or DIY store. And don't forget the all-important safety equipment. So, before we get stuck in, I'm going to prime the wall that's going to be clad. Now it's really important you allow for this block work to dry before you apply the priming slurry. I'm also going to wear my safety equipment, which are my gloves, my goggles and the dust mask. To do the mixing, we recommend the use of a drill with a paddle mixer attachment. So for this bag, I'm going to be using 4 litres of clean cold water. Gradually add the powder, mixing in between each addition and keep your drill on a slow speed. When mixing priming slurry, I recommend using a plastic sheet to protect the area where you are mixing, as any splashes can be difficult to remove. Using a trowel, scrape around the sides of the bucket to fully mix everything. Keep mixing for about 3 to 4 minutes and the consistency should be smooth and lump-free. It's important that once fully mixed, extra water is not added, as this may weaken the slurry. This product has a working time of about an hour, so I now need to apply it to the wall, and it's important that you sweep any dust off of the blocks first. I'm using a stiff brush to apply the priming slurry, which gives an improved key for the cladding to bond to. Generously apply the priming slurry, making sure the whole face is covered. There you have it. The blockwork is fully primed, and once it's dry, I can start cladding. Cladding a wall is very similar to tiling a kitchen or a bathroom, and what we really want to avoid is having unnecessary slithers of product at the end, across the top, or even at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate exactly how many full units will be required to clad the face of this planter. So the face of this wall is about 370 millimetres, and each of the cladding units we'll be using is about 75 millimetres. So I know that to clad this end will be just under 5 full units of cladding. To help explain a little easier, the wall height is 370 millimetres, the tile is 75 millimetres, 370 divided by 75 equals 4.93. So I'll need 1, 2, 3, 4 full tiles, and for the bottom 5th course I'll need to cut off around 5 or 6 millimetres. The same principle applies horizontally. Try and avoid noticeable small cuts and slithers. Mark down 300 millimetres from the top of the wall, which is the depth of 4 full tiles. Position the batten and check its level. Secure the batten to the wall using masonry nails. Top tip, don't hammer the nail all the way in, leave about 10 mm out. This will make it easier to remove when the first course has fully set. One last check with the level, then secure at the other end. Right, the buttons are all on. It's now time to start to clad the planter. Okay, I'm now going to show you how to mix the Pavestone wall and cladding adhesive. And before we start, we must remember the all-important safety equipment: gloves, goggles and the dust mask. First, pour approximately 2 litres of clean cold water into the bucket or tub, and then gradually add in the powder. It needs to be a nice creamy paste. Pavestone wall and cladding adhesive is suitable for both indoors and outdoors. All thoroughly mixed, now I'm ready to start the cladding.
Apply the adhesive to the blockwork with a trowel. Then comb through with a notched trowel to create continuous horizontal ribs.
Then butter the back face of the cladding with the adhesive. Not too much, it's to help bond with the adhesive I've just put on the wall. Never just dot and dab. You need to ensure that both surfaces completely bond together without leaving any gaps or air pockets. This is vital in external applications. It stops water getting behind the tile, which can freeze in winter and blow the tile off the wall. Here we go. Offer the cladding up to the wall with the bottom sitting on the batten. Firmly push the cladding onto the adhesive with a slight twist in action. Then carefully tap with a rubber mallet to ensure full contact. Some of the adhesive will ooze out of the sides. Simply take away the excess with your trowel and wipe over with a damp tiler's sponge to remove any excess immediately. Not just from the sides, but make sure you clean the face of the cladding too. Pavestone walling adhesive has brilliant initial grab qualities. You can reposition slightly if you're not happy, but it does set quite quickly. Not instantly, but it will set between 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so the first row is on and that's all set. I'm now going to show you briefly how we deal with corners. So one option is you can stick the tiles on to create a straight join. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide that one back and create a bonded corner. I'm now going to show you how to cut the Pavestone cladding range, and for that there are two really good bits of kit that you can use for this. The first is a traditional angle grinder, the second is what we call a tiler's wet saw. Now when you're using any powered cutting equipment there's a high element of risk, therefore it's essential that you wear all of the correct personal protective equipment before starting the work.
Position the guide bar at the required measurement. Using the reverse side facing up, slowly feed the tile towards the blade. Take your time and let the blade do all the work. Always make sure that the safety guard is as close to the tile surface as possible. The advantage of using a wet tiler's saw is that the water suppresses any dust. They also cool down the blade and the tile during cutting. Again, let the blade do the work, don't rush the cut. The same rule applies when using the angle grinder. Do your cut on the reverse side of the tile. I always use a piece of old rubber matting to absorb any vibration, which will reduce the risk of the tile cracking. Or you could just use a piece of old carpet. Again, take your time cutting. With natural stone cladding, the cut is made from the face side of the tile.
Right, the four courses of cladding are now all in place and it's set nice and hard. The last stage is for me to remove these timber battens and get that final row of cladding cut and fixed in place.
Time for the last course. As well as this needing to be cut, I also need to allow 3 to 4 mm gap at the bottom. This will allow for water runoff and will also stop water rising up from the paving. This is where the spacer or packer comes in. Place at each end of the tile and measure from this spacer to the bottom of the first course I fixed earlier. Then cut the tile to size. The final cut piece just dropping into place, a twist, a gentle tap and a wipe down with a damp sponge. All done. When the tile and adhesive have set, remove the spacers.
All fully clad, the next job for me is to put some coping stones around, fill it with soil and get it planted up. All finished, a lovely corner planter made with walling blocks but brought to life with Pavestone cladding. For more how-to videos, just visit the website pavestone.co.uk.